light. This year, my friends, the explosion was truly cosmic. All the eyes of the world, through modern technology, were able to look at the ignition. Not that we're allowed to go into the Holy Sepulchre, but we can see just from the outside what is about to happen and the shock when it comes. For East and West this year are in synchronization, as the Lord wanted from the beginning. It's exactly the equivalent of what we see in the Sistine Chapel, when a spark comes from the finger of God the Father and the limping finger of Adam receives the gift of life. Be. That same command, fiat, let there be light, was heard in the eternal void, occupied alone by God. Time and space, matter, order, and different degrees of life came into being. And with it also a test for the angels, and some failed it. Having been shown the incarnation, I will not serve. We had to be fixed, and unlike the angels we could be, for our will can be turned back. At the moment when another word was pronounced on a part of our geography, actually at that same area, now all one in the Holy Sepulchre complex, the word was heard, it is accomplished. The earth trembled. If one looks at an exposed part of that holy rock, one sees a split. They've left open that part for you to see, the earthquake. And one also can see blood. It's his, in which we are washed. There was a rush afterwards. The externals, important, had to be done quickly. But the invisible part was all happening at that point. The soul of the Saviour went into the earth, the nethermost parts, descended ad inferos. And an ancient author has portrayed very well the encounter with Adam. Arise, you who sleep. At that point, of course, that closed door was open. Today, you will be with me in paradise. Eden was reversed. Now, the other part that remained, which we see happening here in the Gospel, was important to the holy women. How are we going to open this sealed tomb? We must protect this sacred body. An encounter happens. Light and strange presences. Why seek ye the dead among the living? Now, because of persecution over the centuries, only a small part of the stone on which the angel sat is still there. It's still called the angel's stone. But the inner chamber is further in. What happened? They were told, and they had to give a message. They had to go, the disciples, to a place that they knew in Galilee. You know where it was, don't you? Mount Tabor. There's a plaque there indicating that this is where it happened both times. But then, the unbelieving disciples. However, despite his threefold denial and depression, Peter put himself in accelerated mode and whizzed as fast as he could. The younger John outran him. However, the younger John, out of courtesy, let the senior disciple go before him. For surely John, being intuitive, had a notion already, but wanted Simon Peter to see for himself. What did he see? We have already a reference to the Holy Shroud, and also to the napkin, not with the Holy Shroud itself, but tucked up in a place of its own. We have it still at Malapelo. And we can, with modern technology, superimpose one on the other, and they fit perfectly. However, what we have in the Holy Shroud is rigor mortis and death. What we have in the napkin, which is touching the face itself directly and clean, is, wait for it, the very instant of opening the eyes. The corpse is no longer a corpse. In that wounded body, life is coming again, and this time there is no more pain. I have conquered. You know what happened years ago when the smile of reason looked with interest at the failed test of science. Old Nick is a good scientist, and he knew that he would perhaps win if he could make sure that they got a part which was contaminated. There was a great scientist who was battling cancer, but he had an intuition, I know exactly what's happened. And he managed, before being beaten by cancer, to put together a very strong paper with excellent evidence proven under the greatest scrutiny that this is actually what happened. In the Middle Ages, there was a terrible fire. And the nuns were going to make sure that it was completely repaired. So what they did was they very intricately re-sewed damaged parts and dyed them completely to mingle with the colours. But this scientist was able to then go into the microscopic structure of the cells involved and to see that in those parts there was a different web structure in the stitching and figment coming in which was completely absent in the other bits. And he was able to demonstrate irrefutably that there is here a superimposed new material and dye. And in proportion in which the carbon testing was happening there, it was showing the date of the repairs. Not long ago, I was in Italy at the time, there was a terrible, strange fire in the cathedral in Turin. The sealed shroud could not be got at, it was so well protected. Whatever caused the fire was going to destroy it completely. And humanly speaking, it could not be saved. Before 55 million people on Rai Uno, a few days later, a young fireman appeared and told the whole of Italy exactly what happened. He was strangely pushed given an unimaginably strong force to be propelled into the inferno against every risk, to humanly, with a hatchet, bang open all the seals which were completely impossible to break, and to bring to safety the most precious relic on earth. An ordinary young fireman. A few years ago, very sensitive instruments were placed in the Holy Sepulchre, not just on the holy day itself, but throughout the year, and something was picked up. In the area immediately in the inner chamber and around it, there is a high emission of inexplicable energy which is picked up scientifically. There is power there. It's still the same old, dear, gentle successor of St. James who goes in there to this day. He's done it for good years now, but those who have gone before him have had the same story when interviewed, and they say exactly what happens when they go into the dark. From memory, they recite old Greek prayers. It doesn't happen at the same time or take the same form each time, but it has this characteristic that it starts in the tomb itself. A green or blue light starts in there, it's alive, and suddenly jumps out, and the place where it comes out can be seen in the hole there. It fills the whole inner chamber, dances around, and eventually settles into the form of a palpable light, rather like the light that led the Hebrews to the desert. And to that column of light, the patriarch holds up his 33 candles, and God and man touch, as when God said to Adam, "Be." This, my friends, is the power that we have. All over the Christian globe, this was being feasted last night. God can see the glory coming back to him. He deserves the best. Brethren, last night I was pleasantly surprised that there's a place on earth, in Ireland actually, where it is very, very, very well done. With the best of the new and the old. It's Holy Cross Abbey, Australia, Olivet and Benedictines. Nothing was spared. Nothing was spared. Beautiful monastic voices, the best only. God was honoured. And that is how it will be in the church. God will honour those who honour him. For only a few years ago, when I was in our monastery in Italy, close to their mother house, Monte Oliveto, 5 young Olivetan monks, 4 Frenchmen and 1 Italian, came to us and said, "We're off to found in Ireland." That was only a few years ago. Now there's a complete monastery. Very serene, purpose-built, a beautiful monastic echo, and emphasizing one thing that the Lord meant to give us on earth: unity. That they may be one. For where the Lord is, peace comes with it. And where there is peace, there is love. Where there is love, there is joy. If that is not there, we're serving the wrong side.
Messia pro nobis, sub Pontio Pilato, passus esse